Hey guys, hey, hope everybody's doing well and enjoying the NBA playoffs that just started. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a really good playoff run because there's so much parity right now in the league. And I mean, even me, I can guess at who's going to win it. I mean, my picks are I got Milwaukee beating it over the Warriors. Um, but I mean, honestly, I have no idea. And you know, the big reason why they're so hard to predict is just it's all going to be based on who's healthy and who's not. Injuries are going to be absolutely pivotal. They've already played a huge role. Um, I mean, we're seeing right now. So let's start with the Golden State Warriors and Denver Nuggets series. So Golden State's up 2-0, and I mean the big news is I mean the emergence of Jordan Poole. I mean he's been playing well in the regular season, but right now he's balling. You know they have the death lineup with Curry, Clay, and Poole, and they're up 2-0, and I think a lot of people are really hard on Jokic right now. They're saying he shouldn't be MVP, and he's not my MVP. I think Embiid should win it. It's either Embiid or Giannis, and I think Embiid deserves his first one, so I'd give it to Embiid. But um, I think Jokic, he's kind of doing the Russell Westbrook thing. I mean, he's a much better player than Russell Westbrook. Don't get me wrong, but he his player usage is off the chart because he doesn't have much talent around him because Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray are injured. And so he has the ball and he's playing a bigger role in the offense, and so that leads to more stats. But as you're seeing right now, and it's great. I mean, he took him to the sixth seed. It's impressive. It's impressive because he doesn't have a really good team around him. But as you're seeing right now, like I think there's only so much one guy can do, and they just don't have that second star that can really like ease a little bit of the pressure off Jokic, and I think that's why he has frustration because he feels like every possession is just like he has to score on every possession, and I think a lot of people too are ripping Jokic because he's being guarded by Draymond, who's like half a foot shorter than him, and how he's having difficulties with that. But I mean, honestly, like Draymond does that to everybody. I mean, he gives trouble to every big guy, and that's why he's one of the best defenders, in the game. And even though he's much shorter, I think he understands defense, and he's still gonna make you make tough shots and shoot it over him. And so, um, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a tough matchup for the Nuggets. I just don't think they have the talent to even compete with the Warriors. Um, so yeah, so I got the Warriors winning this, and I think I got them going to the finals. I think their only weakness is they could be exposed by the big man. I'm curious to see how Draymond continues to fare against the DeAndre Aytons of the world, against the Giannis or Embiid, whoever they play in the final. Um, Next series I want to talk about was I was just watching the Phoenix Suns and versus the Pelicans, and I think the Pelicans are going to win this game, and mostly because Devin Booker just got injured, and so I mean the Suns are favored to come out of the West, but if already Devin Booker's injured, I mean that's a big issue, right? So I mean honestly, this series was a no brainer for me. I had Phoenix sweeping maybe in five. Now, if Devin Booker's seriously injured, I mean that changes everything. I still think they beat the Pelicans, but I mean they ain't going very far without Devin Booker. So, um, yeah, that series is an issue. Um, the other series too are the Dallas Mavericks um, and the Utah Jazz, and I literally have no faith in the Utah Jazz because I just think their coach is really obstinate at keeping Rudy Gobert at times in the game when they need to bring more perimeter defense on the floor. And last year, I mean, I said it in another video. I mean, Utah just got punked by the Clippers. Like Terrence Mann went off for 35 points. They were leaving him. They were leaving him wide open, literally wide open. 3 pointers are wide open all day. Quinn Snyder never adjusted, and honestly, they could lose to Dallas if Quinn Snyder doesn't make the proper adjustments. They have guys that can defend on the perimeter. Like he just needs to play them, and so yeah, Quinn Snyder needs to make adjustments because I think Utah's a more talented team, but and then the injuries. Luka Doncic missed the first game. He's got a hamstring injuries. Those are extremely tricky because You know, it's like, I mean, we saw Kevin Durant, right? I mean, that's what I said hamstring. I meant calf. Durant had a calf injury, and he ended up, and he came back too soon and tore his Achilles. And that's what Doncic is up against because he's going to try to come back too soon, and he's rushing back, and he's younger than Durant was, so he's probably more resistant. But um, yeah, so we'll watch out for that. But he's questionable. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays Game 3. The fact Dallas won Game 2 really surprised me. They have a lot of good players. Dinwiddie's okay, and obviously Brunson is up and coming. But I mean, Utah, like, this is a must series for Utah. If Utah doesn't win this, I mean, yeah, they got to blow it up. I mean, I love Donovan Mitchell, but Bogdanovich too, and they got a lot of good pieces, but coaching needs to be better. I think they need to use Gobert more sparingly. Um, so we'll see. The other series I want to talk about was Brooklyn Boston. I think that's a big series. It's probably my favorite one to watch right now. I saw Game 1 and it was intense back and forth, and essentially again I think injuries are going to play a huge part in this. Robert Williams and Ben Simmons, which one can come back the soonest and contribute the most? Because whoever wins that defensive battle is going to win and is going to win the series. And Boston is better defensively than Brooklyn, but I think Brooklyn's better offensively than Boston. So which one will offset? I think if Ben Simmons can come back by Game 4 and give him 10 to 15, 10 to 25 minutes of solid defense, I mean, I think it would do a huge world of good for the Nets, and especially for Durant, because I think he's having to guard Tatum, Brown. He's working on both ends of the floor right now, because the problem with Brooklyn is they don't really have like a wing defender except Durant. Durant's like the only wing defender they have. So, I mean, Seth Curry's underside, Goran Dragic's underside. I like Claxton. He does some good stuff. Drummond can't move his feet whatsoever. Um, and Bruce Brown is undersized, and despite all his efforts, he's just not big enough to deal with Jaylen Brown, Horford, and Jason Tatum, and I love Marcus Smart's defense, and Derek White coming off the bench. So I'm not a huge fan of Daniel Theis, but he plays tough, and he's adding some physicality and a lot of fouls. So I really see. I could really see either team winning this series, but I think whoever has a bigger contributor coming off the bench, coming back from injury. I mean, either Ben Simmons or Robert Williams. I think that's who's gonna win it. But yeah, Ben Simmons would just do a world of good to Brooklyn. Philly Toronto. I thought Toronto would really put up a better fight, but again, injuries for them. Gary Trent. Gary Trent Jr. I think that hurts a lot, and Scott Barnes, and both those guys could come back. But when they miss so much time in the first two games, like you're down 2-0. I mean, they're going back home, so if they could get all five of those guys, in that starting lineup, because I love their starting lineup: Anumbi, Siakam, Barnes, Van Vliet, and Gary Trent Jr. If they can get all those five guys playing with I'm not sure how you say his name. I think it's Boucher, coming off the bench. They can make it competitive, but I saw it as a 6 or 7 game series, and I still see it that way. I still think Philly's gonna win it because they got a little more experience, but but I think Philly's gonna pull it out. But the one thing I want to say about Philly is, one, I love Tyrone Maxey, and I love Phillies. They got good shooting. They got good perimeter defending. My one question mark, and ultimately why I don't think they're gonna win this thing, is James Harden. I mean, he does not look right to me. He's lost a step. He can still pass the ball, but he's not the same player offensively, and I just don't think he's a superstar anymore. And I wonder if it's going to be enough. Embiid's great, and I think I said it earlier, he should be MVP, but instead of Jokic. But it's either Embiid or Giannis. But yeah, I think James Harden is not going to be good enough. He should be better. I think his his offseason regimen is just not good enough. I think he plays himself into shape. He doesn't take care of his body like a LeBron James. So he's only 32, but he looks much older than that. He's physically just much older than that. So I think that's a big problem. And then Bucks. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but Bucks Chicago. I think Chicago, if they had Lonzo Ball, would have a better chance. But as it is right now, Bucks are my favorite to repeat. I really like their team top to bottom, and I like Bobby Portis. I love Grayson Allen. I think those are two good additions. Yeah, I don't, and I think Giannis is the best player in the game. I think he's. I think Durant's more talented than Giannis, but you know, Giannis is younger. He's got more energy. He's more consistent. Um, we'll see. We'll see if Durant doesn't get injured or misses time. I hope not, but Durant's one of my favorite players. Um, but I think Milwaukee's the more reliable option. I just don't see Chicago competing there. And then the Miami. I think Miami, Atlanta. I love Miami. I think Miami's the second best team in the East, and I think they're ultimately going to lose to Philly. I mean, they're ultimately going to lose to Milwaukee because um, they just don't have a superstar. That's the problem with Miami is they got everything else: defense, shooting, coaching, great president Pat Riley. They got everything, but they just don't have um, that superstar. Jimmy Butler's their best player. I just don't think you can win a championship with Jimmy Butler as your best. I mean, you can, but everything would have to really align well for them to win it. Um, and then I forgot the last series I wanted to talk about. Yeah, Memphis Timberwolves. Um, I think this one's an interesting one because I didn't think Minnesota would put as much of a fight. But when you look at the matchup, Minnesota's actually a really good matchup for, I should say, is a bad matchup for Memphis. I think they're both really young teams. They're both really talented. I still think the Grizzlies are going to win it, but I think it's going to be closer than people think. And I mean, it's easy for me to say that now because I've seen the first two games. I mean, today Memphis just blew out the Timberwolves, but I still think it's going to be a closer series. But ultimately, I just think Memphis is a little bit more polished as a team. I think the Timberwolves just have a lot of chemistry, but they don't. Um, no, they have a lot of talent. I mean, but they don't have the chemistry. So, anyways, so that's kind of my first impression of the. So I got Memphis winning that series. I think probably in six. But so that's my first impression of the playoffs so far. But again, it's all based on injuries. I could see the Warriors win it all, but can they stay healthy? Like they showed some stat like prior to the playoff that their death lineup had only played like 10 minutes together because Thompson was hurt for a long time. Then it's Curry injured. So um, yeah, it's I love the Warriors and the way they play, but can they stay healthy? Phoenix, they just lost Devin Booker, so maybe Memphis squeezes in. Um, who knows? Maybe Luka Doncic comes back and he's fully healthy. Um, maybe Utah finally makes the changes they need to make. Uh, Quinn Snyder has some coaching epiphanies and they click. So there's so many teams that have enough talent to win it. But it just depends on injury and chemistry, who's going to gel the most. I mean, you look at the East. The East is wide open. I mean, I really like Boston because they're the best defensive team, but the Robert Williams injury just really put me off. I was about to pick Boston as my coming out of the East, but because to beat Milwaukee, you're gonna have to be clicking on all cylinders, and that's what I'm saying. Like between and even Embiid has had injury issues, So, if you're asking me, if I got to put money between the Heat, Philly, or Milwaukee or Brooklyn, right? These are the four teams that could, and even Boston, right? The five teams that could win it. I'm going to pick the team that I think is the most reliable, and I think that's Milwaukee. Now, can the other four teams beat Milwaukee? Sure. But I just think, all the stars and everything's going to have to align for all those other teams to beat Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is the most consistent thing in the East, and that's why they're going to win it. In the NBA Finals, man, I think Milwaukee would beat Golden State because I don't think I have a hard time seeing Kevon Looney and Draymond Green guarding Giannis. But with Draymond, nothing would surprise me. I mean, the guy's such a rugged defender. Like, if he can get in anybody's head, if anybody can get into Giannis's head, it'd be Draymond. So we'll see. I mean, this is why the playoffs are so interesting. I love the East and I love the West. I hope Devin Booker's not injured because he's one of my favorite players. But anyways, I covered a lot in this video. I think in the next ones I'm going to be a little bit more to the point and specific. But just being my first video for the playoffs, I'm just really excited. And there's just so many good matchups, so many good players, so much parity right now. So anyways, stay tuned. Keep watching the playoffs and just enjoy them because it's going to be a heck of a ride. So, I don't really care who wins. It's all about entertainment, and it's all fun and games. So, hey, thanks for tuning in, and you guys enjoy the rest of your week, okay? Bye, guys.